Hey everyone, in this week's video I gathered the best and brightest students in my school, students with A-star predicted grades, offers from Cambridge, UCL, Warwick, Bristol and some of the other top universities in the UK, and I asked them just one question. Hey everyone, I'm here with
Anthony,
Amy,
Ollie, Alex,
Henry,
Malachi,
Sophie,
Yagoda.
And Anthony, what subjects are you currently studying?
I'm doing further maths, physics, computer science, and I got an A-star in maths last year.
further maths, physics and English literature, and like Anthony, I did my A-level maths last year and got an A-star.
I'm doing further maths and physics.
Physics, maths, further maths and computer science, but actually I did my maths A-level last year and I got an A-star like Anthony and Amy.
Maths, further maths, physics and chemistry.
Maths, physics and arts.
Maths, further maths, physics, and I did AS geography.
maths, further maths and physics.
What are you looking to do after you finish your A-levels?
After I finish, I want to do computer science at university, hopefully do a master's as well.
I'm hoping to do a maths degree, so take maths to a greater depth.
Got my number one choice at Bristol, do maths and engineering.
I think I'm going to flight school to become a pilot, but also as a backup plan I've got computer science at universities down.
I'd love to do a maths master degree at uni, just develop a mathematical ability.
I want to do a degree apprenticeship in civil engineering.
I plan to study architecture at university, hopefully at Cambridge.
Planning to do robotics engineering at University of Bath.
So if you could give a tip to anyone out there who's about to do their A-levels or their GCSEs, what would you say?
My biggest tip would be to plan around revision topics rather than around time, because every subject is different. You might be better at some than others. A lot in the same amount of time to each subject won't really always help you. Rather than going in, for a revision session thinking, oh, what am I going to do now? Then in 15 minutes looking up the topic you want to look at. Go in, say, oh, I want to revise this topic now, and then do this topic later, rather than saying I'm going to do it for a certain amount of time, because then that guarantees you've covered everything you need to cover.
Thank you, Anthony.
Yeah, no problem.
What tips would you give to someone who's doing their GCSEs or A-levels right now?
So first of all, do not worry about if you're looking at this video and starting now, do not worry about how much you haven't done or how much you've missed over the past year or two. Focus on what you're doing now and what you need to do. Just try your best to see, with the time you have left, try and plan out, for example, I love Google Calendar. Just plan out different blocks of time where you can do maybe a paper and then a block of time for like reflecting on what you've done wrong, because I think reflection is the most important, rather than just doing the paper, marking it and just leaving it. Yeah, just persevere. Don't give up. Obviously, give yourself like walks or breaks away from place you study, or like change the environment you study in as well to spice it up a little bit.
Yeah, I think the point about changing the environment is just so important, because usually when I'm taking my breaks, I'm never in my room or I'm never at my desk. I always just go outside or go into the kitchen. It puts you in a different mindset when you're at your desk and you're studying. Thank you very much, Amy.
Thank you.
Ollie, you're no stranger to doing some long hours of revision and revising hard for your exams. You obviously did well in your GCSE. What would be your number one tip for someone who's doing their GCSE or their A-levels now?
I've only really got tips for people doing physics, because that's all I'm really good at, to be honest. And I think physics and maths tutor, link in the description.
Yeah, go check. I will put in the link in the
That
description.
is actually the best website of all time. You just think about what you're worst at, go to all the subjects, detailed notes. That is don't throw your textbook in the bin, you don't need it. Just go on the detailed notes, read them, go to the questions, and just do every single question. That's how you start, they should hand it to you.
Yeah, I think it's really great going back over questions, because generally they tend to like reuse or kind of
Yeah, like all
redo
the
the same
questions are just
questions.
the same, really. Like once you do enough, you'll realise that they're all just the same, like a bit different. So once you do enough, you'll
Kind of get the hang of
around.
it, get the
Exactly.
routine, exactly. That's a great tip. Thank you very much, Ollie.
My tip would be definitely to have time away from your schoolwork. Don't feel guilty about having a 1 or 2 hour break if you're just not feeling it. Definitely guilty or feeling guilty about having long breaks, but if you're just not feeling it, the revision is not going to be effective. There's no point forcing yourself just to sit in front of a computer when nothing's going. So take your time away, have your breaks, just feel good about it.
Yeah, I can really attest to that, because yesterday I was just revising. I just wasn't feeling it. Information wasn't going in. I wasn't feeling good about myself, so I just took like a little 1-2 hour break, which normally I don't take breaks that long, but I found once I got back to revision, I was more focused, I was more ready to learn. Make sure you're being good to yourself and treating yourself well, and don't feel guilty about this.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you very much. Henry, you're doing some hard subject. What do you think your number one tip would be to someone who's about to do their GCSEs or about to even do their A-level?
Find what works for you. There's loads of revision tips and revision methods out there, and not all of them will apply to use a specific person. Finding what will work for you, and also for that individual subject, what you may do for chemistry will be different for maths, which will be different to the essay subject.
If you could give any tip to one of the audience members out there who's doing their GCSEs or their A-levels, what would you say?
I would have 2 tips. So the first one would be, if you ever get stuck on questions or are uncertain on any topics, always go to your teachers for help. If you've gone to friends and you've looked at resources and you still don't understand how to answer the question, or you don't understand a specific topic, go to your teachers. The teachers are there for you, whether it's after school sessions or just in between lessons at break time, lunchtime. Always go to your teachers. Second tip would be, after each topic you do in each subject, write down all the key formulas, key terminology, just key ideas, write them all down so that you have that written after each topic and you can go back and revise through them.
Yeah, I think that's very smart. I know for trigonometry, I keep a little trig sheet of all
Yeah.
the trigonometric identities.
Just having post-it notes of just all little key formulas and stuff.
Yeah, super useful. Thank you, Sophie.
Thank you.
If you could give any tip to someone doing their GCSEs and A Levels, what would you say?
So I would say the most important part of revising for exams, especially as it gets closer to the exam seasons, to do the past papers, but don't just do the past papers. Try to reflect on every single past paper that you do and write down every single mistake that you make, and any questions which you're like unsure about or the mark scheme doesn't make sense. I know that they are terrible sometimes. Go to your teachers even like the next day and ask them for like a more verbal explanation of the concept, which might give you like a better idea of what it's about. I think the second point to mention is just stay zen and remember to like stay calm whenever you panic or feel overwhelmed. Just do something that keeps you grounded. Like for example, for me, like meditation works really well. So even before every past paper that I do, I try to even like do some breathing exercises before attempting the past paper to like just shift all my focus to the past paper and not have any other thoughts in my brain, to just clear my mind.
Some great tips. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Malachi, if you could give any advice to people doing their GCSEs or their A Levels, what would it be?
I would give the advice of not being afraid to fail as much as possible before your exams, because I feel like every failure during your revision is a lesson to be learned. You go to the gym, you don't do easy weights to build muscle. You have to push yourself, increase the intensity of the workout. This can be used in your revision.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Malachi. Just, you have to push yourself. If you're doing easy questions, that's not going to help you build muscle. It's not going to help you strengthen those connections in your brain. So make sure you're doing hard questions. The more mistakes you're making in your practice, the less likely you are to make them in your exam. Thank you, Malachi. So Amy, you're doing English Lit. What about tips for people who are doing essay-based subject?
So for essay-based subject, I highly recommend, again, like just doing past paper questions, but it's a bit more harder to mark by yourself. So I definitely recommend just getting your teacher to mark it. Also, it's very important, I think, to look at examiners' reports, because there's some very interesting insights that I do find from there, and I could just use that idea and put it in my actual essays. Yeah, and I would highly recommend using Anki flashcards like you do for remembering like quotes, critic quotes, interpretations, or like I know a friend who does history, and then she would have like different dates and different events that's going on for her flashcards. So I highly recommend that, and make sure the quotes are not too long. Only the ones that are quite vital to embed in your essays. Yeah,
some really good advice. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, just for you guys, I managed to acquire some special guests for this video. Some people you might have seen on TikTok or YouTube before. And without further ado, I want to present to you Ishan and Daniel, each to give their best piece of revision advice during exam season.
Here is my advice. Start blurting. Get a piece of paper, write down as much stuff as you can remember in a black pen. You can scribble it like I do on my lives. I actually recommend scribbling it because it gets it out of my head faster. And then what you want to do is look at your book, your textbook or something like this one here. Open it to a random page you're studying from. Write down everything slowly that you couldn't remember and repeat that process 3 times until you've memorized the whole textbook. But you should only be blurting once you have actually learned the topic. So before you do blurt, make sure you're using Anki, make sure you're using Quizlet, and make sure you're doing active recall on past papers so you actually memorize the stuff. Blurting will only help you retain the information you already have. So you can't learn from blurting, but you can memorize from blurting. Thank me later, and good luck in your GCSEs and A Levels. You're going to do great.
Hi, my name's Danny, better known as GCSE Potential, and here's my one tip for exam season. What I'd say is be unique. And that's a bit of a weird statement to state. And what I basically mean by that is when there's a subject which allows you to show your creativity, so perhaps English language, German speaking, something like that, make sure you go all in. Make sure that you distinguish yourself from the rest of the pack. And why do I say that? Examiners are going to be going through hundreds and hundreds of scripts or like exam papers. They get paid per paper to try to go as fast as they can. They're going to get bored, okay? They're bored speed readers. But when they come across a student who's done something crazy in the English language story, done something like really, really cool that makes you unique, then of course they're a lot more likely to like you. So take that into account. And just my final other tip is make sure your handwriting isn't bad. Because if it's bad, I know they say they don't care, but cognitive bias, if the handwriting is bad, they're going to be annoyed at you. So yeah, best of luck. follow my TikTok because it's better than Udoka. No, I'm joking. Udoka is the reason I started this, actually. Udoka is my favorite study tuber.
So I want to give a massive thank you to everyone who helped make this video possible, including all of my friends, Ishan and Daniel. Thank you guys so much. This video wouldn't have been possible without you. If you're having trouble focusing during exam season, check out this playlist full of real-time study of me. It's literally just me revising for hours on end, which you can put on in the background and revise along with me.